The opinions expressed in the following programs are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers nor Rogers TV.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Thank you for joining us so bright and early for what is one of the most important events that we are holding this year. I am Talia Lane, Director of Marketing and Business Initiatives at Mathis Financial Group and the 2022 President of the Ajax Pickering Board of Trade. Before we get started, I would like to recognize several groups of people who have made today's event possible, beginning with today's sponsors. Our presenting sponsor is the Durham Region Association of Realtors. And we are pleased to have our event sponsors, Toronto Regional Real Estate Board and 369 Global. Thank you. Without your support, today's event would not be possible. So the Ajax Pickering Board of Trade prides itself on being a leader in advocacy and policy development. Our goal is to support strong economic development not only in Ajax and Pickering, but across all of Durham Region. This work is carried out by an important group of volunteers on our Government Relations Committee, which is chaired by today's moderator, Joan Weidman. And I would ask that you check the name badges at your table, and those who wear the Government Relations Committee badges put in countless hours, including meetings on the first Friday of the month at 7:30 a.m. I would like to take a moment to welcome our annual title sponsors who support us in everything we do throughout the year. Sponsors, please stand as I call your name, and I ask everyone here to please hold your applause until all have been announced. So, Ontario Power Generation's Annalise Saint-Aubin, she is the Manager of Corporate Relations, Nuclear Decommissioning Strategy, and she is also the 2022 Chair of the Ajax Pickering Board of Trade. From McGovern Hurley, partner Glenn McFarlane, who is the treasurer of the Ajax Pickering Board of Trade. And from Alexicon Energy Inc., Adita McKay, manager of public affairs. I would also like to recognize annual title sponsors who are not able to join us today: OLG, UPAC, Michael Boyer Auto Group, the University of Ontario Institute of Technology, TD Commercial Banking, Saffron Landing Systems, Durham Live, Bell, and Hubble Canada. I'd like to acknowledge our annual community leaders, Pickering Casino Resort, Casino Ajax, and One Toronto Gaming. And I would like to recognize our important community partners from Trent University, Durham Greater Toronto Area, Dr. Scott Henderson, President, and from Durham College, Kevin Mina, Manager Community Engagement, the town of Ajax and the city of Pickering, who also have several representatives here with us today. So thank you for all being here today. Another notable is the town of Ajax Councillor, Rob Tyler Morin. And in attendance are members of our board of directors and members of our Government Relations Committee, whose name and businesses you will see on our rotating slides. So I ask all our directors, please stand. I'm not going to announce your names, but if you just want to stand, Government Relations and our board of directors on Ajax Pickering Board of Trade. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for all your hard work this year. So I'd now like to call on Wendy Giroux, Chief Executive Officer of the Durham Region Association of Realtors and today's presenting sponsor.
Thank you and good morning. I am Wendy Giroux, the CEO of the Durham Region Association of Realtors, and we represent over 1,500 realtors in the Durham region. DRAR is glad to be able to be here this morning and join to hear the provincial candidates speak about the issues that are important to all of us. A lot has happened in the last 4 years since we gathered here provincially. The COVID-19 pandemic affected literally every aspect of our daily lives in the province, from healthcare to supply chain management to housing availability and affordability. Our priorities have had to readjust. The opportunity to be here together and hear directly from the party candidates hoping to represent Ajax, Pickering, and Uxbridge in the next provincial parliament is a fundamental value that we need to recognize and is not necessarily available to all regions around the world. To the candidates here today, thank you so much for your passion and your dedication to your community, your communities. It takes an incredible amount of courage to step forward and put your name on the ballot, especially in today's polarizing political world. We recognize and appreciate the sacrifices that you and your families are going to do for the next couple weeks during the campaign, and we thank you again. It is now my pleasure to introduce Joan Weidman, the Chair of the Government Relations Committee of the Ajax Pickering Board of Trade and Vice President of Corporate Services for Lenbrook Group of Companies. Joan will introduce the candidates and guide us through today's proceedings. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone, and it's good to have you here on this bright, sunny morning. I am Joan Weidman, the Chair of the Government Relations Committee. I want to say that our committee is comprised of 25 business leaders that represent a broad spectrum of industries, and they're very passionate about the success of business in the Ajax Pickering area. We meet monthly, as you've heard, and we discuss the challenges that businesses are facing, and then we try to determine how we can advocate on these issues with every level of government. So that's what we try to do. And so this is part of that today. I want to thank the candidates also for your involvement this morning, for joining us and giving us a chance to hear your perspective of your platform for business answers. And what we're going to hear from you today is answers to questions that we formulated. Unfortunately, we had a decline due to another commitment from one Green Party member and then a cancellation from the other on Sunday. And yesterday we had a cancellation from the Ajax Conservative candidate. So we have 5 candidates, but I think we're going to hear some good things today that will help us with our decision making. So the goal this morning is to ask business-related questions of the candidates, and that's really important to us. To recap the rules, this is a Q&A forum and not a debate. Candidates will be given 3 minutes for opening remarks, and that's where they're going to tell us why they've chosen to stand for the party that they're standing and personally why they're standing. And then these will be followed by questions that we've put together, and they will be normally answered in 1 minute per candidate, unless we've given them a little longer time, depending on the question. And then at the end, we will have closing remarks. We're going to have a timekeeper, Kevin, if you want to come to the special seat in the middle. Thank you. So our timekeeper is going to have signage that's visible to the candidates. Yellow means you need to wrap up because you have 30 seconds left. And red means your comment time is up, and I might even interrupt you. These questions were not shared in advance with any of the candidates, and the subject matter was drawn from business issues and priorities from our surveys of our members, and also from the 8 chambers of commerce and boards of trade in Durham, known as the Durham Business Alliance. And then we also collaborated on questions that we received from Durham Region Association of Realtors, so we're really thankful for that partnership too. So let's begin with opening remarks. And we're going to start on my right hand, and what we're going to do is we're going to take a candidate answer all the way down, and then we'll start at this end and go back. So that's how we're going to manage it, so it's a lot easier for Rogers and for myself. Please take 3 minutes to introduce yourself and explain why you're choosing to stand as a candidate in this provincial election. So we're going to start with Pickering Uxbridge, Ontario PC candidate, Peter Bethlin-Falvey. Peter, welcome.
Well, thank you, and good morning, everyone. And thank you, Joan, for moderating this debate. You've always done a tremendous job. Also to the Ajax Pickering Board of Trade for hosting us today, and to my fellow candidates, colleagues who I know what it takes to put your name forward, and you mentioned, or previously was mentioned, the courage it takes, so thank you to put your name forward. Look, it's been a real honor to represent Pickering Uxbridge for the last 4 years, and you know, we've got a lot done in those 4 years. We've announced we're building a brand new hospital in Uxbridge, along with a brand new long-term care facility right beside it, campus of care in Uxbridge. I cut the ribbon at Lake Ridge Gardens, right beside the Ajax Pickering Hospital, to put 320 new beds in place. And of course, we took the tolls off the 412 and 418. But you know, that's partly what we've done and got it done in 4 years. But going forward, the things that we're looking to get done for the people of Ontario are 5 key themes. One is to rebuild Ontario's economy after 2 years of the pandemic. We want more jobs, better jobs, and bigger paychecks. Secondly, working for workers, providing them the skills and the tools and the training necessary to compete and be successful in the job market. Number 3, infrastructure, building highways, critical infrastructure, hospitals, long-term care, broadband, housing, subways. There's a lot of talk. We want to get it done. We're getting it done. Fourthly, bringing costs down. For many, the cost of living, we're afraid to go to the gas station. We're focused on bringing costs down, whether it's the 412, the 418, taking the license plate stickers off, or dropping the gas price by 5.7 cents a litre for 6 months starting July 1st. And finally, a plan to stay open, building more hospitals, building more beds, hiring more nurses and personal support workers, and better and more home care. These are the planks that we're fighting on. I want your support over the next 4 years to continue doing the job, and I look forward and would really appreciate getting your support and your vote on June 2nd. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter. And now we'll move to the Ajax NDP candidate, Christine Santos. Christine.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out today, and thank you to the Board of Trade for organizing today's forum. I am Christine Santos. I am your Ajax NDP candidate. I want to begin by acknowledging that the land we gather is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe Mississauga, adjacent to the Mississauga's Scugog Island First Nation, and the territory covered by the Williams Treaty. I am a journalist and a children's TV producer. I create programs that encourage children and youth to think critically and engage in the community through my media production company. Prior to that, I worked in human resources for various industries for over 15 years. And as a small business owner, I know the challenges of balancing operational budget without compromising the quality of the services and products that you deliver. It is getting harder and harder for businesses and business owners to survive. The pandemic has been especially difficult for small businesses that did their part but didn't receive the government support that they needed. Our plan not only supports workers, but supports businesses struggling to recover from the pandemic and rising operational costs. We will ensure small businesses have the targeted support they need so we can reach a minimum of $20 minimum wage by 2026. The cheapest electricity is the electricity you don't use. Our ambitious energy-efficient building retrofit program will help businesses and families lower their electricity bill. These are just a few of our commitments that will help support workers and business owners. Under the Conservative and Liberals, Ontario lost 300,000 manufacturing jobs. Prices skyrocketed, and big businesses got support during the pandemic, while small and local businesses suffered. I'm so excited to be running to represent our community. Our vision offers hope. Our costed plan will fix what's broken. Thanks again for coming, and I'm really excited to talk about the NDP's plan to work for you.
Thank you, Christine. And now our Pickering Uxbridge NDP candidate, Khalid Ahmed.
Good morning, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome. Good morning, everyone. My name is Khalid Ahmed. I'm the Ontario NDP candidate for the beautiful riding of Pickering Uxbridge. Thank you to the Board of Trades for hosting this event and getting all of us to come together to share our vision how we could make Ontario better. I believe Pickering Uxbridge needs an MPP who could represent the interest of all residents. I have lived in this riding, or in the riding of Pickering Uxbridge, for my entire adult life. I'm raising my family here, and I always have looked for ways to make our community better. My background work as social service worker and my current work at a financial service sector, these are very different professions, which make me uniquely suited to understand both the social and economic needs of Pickering Uxbridge. When I worked for John Howard Society of Toronto for the PAR program, which promoted the nonviolent behavior and non-controlling attitudes in men and women who have assaulted their partners, give me a good opportunity to understand the social needs we need. I worked at TNO, the Thorncliffe Park Neighborhood Center, with the youth, and as an analyst with the major Canadian bank, now I spend my time helping clients gain access to the financial services that will make their lives better. These are two different approaches for the same thing, making lives better. And it's possible for the government to do the same. The Ontario NDP would support small and medium-sized business with investment in recruitment and training programs, a small business recovery grant, and a retrofit program that will create over 100,000 jobs across the province while lowering our energy bills. The Ontario's NDP New Democratic Deal will shift Ontario to net zero emission and transition to cleaner forms of energy while working with businesses to create over 1 million good jobs. For the last 15 years, we have been switching between the Liberals and Conservative, and life keeps on getting harder. It's time we elect a government that cares for you, and I truly believe that NDP is the only party that has a plan that will put you first. This is why I am running. I'm running to fix what's broken. I and the Ontario NDP will fix what's broken. So on June 2nd, I'm asking for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Khalid. And now we're turning over to the Liberal parties. First is Ajax Liberal Party, Amber Bowen.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Amber Bowen, and I'm the candidate for the new Ontario Liberal Party here in Ajax. I'm a teacher, a mom, and a longtime Ajax resident. Thank you so much to the Ajax Pickering Board of Trade for welcoming me here today. The crisis of the last 2 years has exposed the fragility of the Ontario economy and its infrastructure. I'm aware of the need for robust economic growth in Ajax, Durham, and across Ontario. However, we cannot put our heads in the sand and act like the economy isn't changing. The Ontario Liberal Plan will help create an environment to harness the energy of change and bring prosperity to Ajax and to the region. We as the Ontario Liberal Party understand that the past 2 years have been tough. That's why we will be bringing immediate support to small and medium businesses by eliminating the corporate tax for 2 years. We are going to be helping new businesses get established in the region by removing incorporation fees and by helping entrepreneurs navigate the grant system here federally. We have a plan for the future which includes promoting and developing green manufacturing in the region and Ajax through the production of electric vehicles and the small parts for those vehicles, but also by putting Ajax skilled labor to work by retrofitting homes and businesses to make them more environmentally friendly. But as much as I care about the environment, the future of our economy is not just in the environment alone. We have seen the vulnerabilities that our economy has faced, like manufacturing of vaccines and other medical supplies, and so the Ontario Liberal Plan wants to encourage domestic production of vaccines and medical equipment right here. We will work with municipalities to build 2-story multi-unit properties here in Ajax and across our province, and we will build and sell electric vehicles right here in the region. And in doing so, we will put an end to 4 years of chaotic decision-making, giving business owners a clear, transparent, accountable, and stable government that they can rely on. 4 years of the new Ontario Liberal government will usher in a period of growth and prosperity for Ajax, Pickering, and our province. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Amber. And now Pickering Uxbridge Liberal candidate, Ibrahim Daniel.
Thank you. Dignitaries, business leaders, and fellow Ontarians. My name is Ibrahim Daniel, and I'm a candidate of Pickering Uxbridge that consists of the beautiful city of the Pickering and township of Uxbridge. I'm indeed honored to be here representing Ontario Liberal Party. Thank you for joining us at this early hour. Your presence here is a clear indication that the future of Ontario matters to you. While all elections are important as they define our immediate future, it's tough to dispute that this election is the most important in our lifetime. Unfortunately, in Ontario, things could have been better. The uncontrolled death of our seniors in retirement homes became a national embarrassment. Doug Ford's focus on economy before people posed real challenges to an already challenged economy. And the sudden decision to rescind protection policies that have resulted in the highest cases of COVID-19 isn't because the pandemic is over. It is because Doug Ford gave up. Stephen Del Duca and the Ontario Liberals have a plan to put Ontario back on track. It is time to rebuild our economy. It is time to fix our healthcare. It is time to protect the environment. In our recently launched platform, we provided concrete solutions on how we intend to grow Ontario while helping fellow residents in need. Small businesses need help. So afflicted by the pandemic and a focus on big businesses, the Ontario Liberal plan will rebuild confidence in the economy. Our environment needs safeguarding. That's why all Ontarians must join us to just say no to building a highway through our green belt. Our communities need to be safer. That's why we are deeply committed and passionate about banning handguns. It is time for change, and we are pleased to represent a viable, realistic, and caring plan to help rebuild our province. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibrahim. Thank you very much. Okay, well, thank you for these comments, and we're now ready to move on to the questions that focus on the business-related issues and priorities. This is a reminder that it's time to respectfully present your party's policies and positions, and you have up to 1 minute unless otherwise indicated. So starting with the first question, and we will start on my left with Ibrahim. And it's actually one from the Durham Business Alliance. It has become very obvious during the COVID pandemic that ensuring appropriate capacity in our provincial healthcare system is critical for the province, for businesses to remain open, and for the care of our employees. This includes, among other things, access to community physicians, dealing with the backlog of hospital services, and filling the open nursing, PSW, and physician positions. If elected, what will your party do to ensure a stabilized system with adequate medical care and hospital staffing and adequate pandemic preparedness systems? So, Ibrahim, if we can start with you on your answer to that.
Thank you so much. COVID-19 and pandemic. When I look at Pickering Uxbridge, and especially Orchard Villa disaster, where 71 people died overnight, and City of Pickering, in fact, demanded an inquiry, but Doug Ford failed to conduct an inquiry into it, and on the decision maker, my finance minister was there. We will clear the surgical backlog and set maximum wait times, ensure access to a doctor or a nurse practitioner within 24 hours, make more mental health help available. And we will revolutionize senior care in Ontario by guaranteeing home care and for-profit long-term care, and boost pensions by up to $100,000 for seniors who need it.
Thank you very much. And your response, Amber?
So one of the deficits that was very much exposed during the COVID pandemic was the way we treat our female workers in this province, especially with our nurses. So the first thing that we would do while in government is repeal Bill 124 and help return our nurses back to the healthcare field. Critical to the survival of us as a community. We will also be reintroducing a living wage, not just a minimum wage, for PSWs and healthcare workers in this province, as well as a potable benefit plan to support our healthcare so that they can continue to help support us. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will turn to the NDP candidates first with Khalid.
Our healthcare system is on its knees, and the pandemic didn't cause it. It just exposed how broken our system is. First thing we'll be doing once we take office is repealing Bill 124. My wife is a nurse, and she's deeply affected by this bill. We need to hire more nurses. We cannot just make hospitals and beds without hiring nurses, PSWs, and doctors. Ontarians are struggling to find family doctors. Nurses are overworked. Like I said, the pandemic exposed how bad it is, and we've seen that in Orchard Villa. Seniors were left in spoiled diapers, given expired medication. It is not acceptable. Our plan will address these issues and end hallway medicine, which we have been talking about for over a decade, that we need to address this issue. But we're back here again, and we have the same issues. By electing Ontario NDP, we will solve this problem.
Thank you. And moving on to NDP candidate Christine Santos.
Aside from repealing Bill 124, as my colleague had mentioned, we are fast-tracking the accreditation of internationally educated nurses. There's 15,000 that we are trying to fast-track. We're also looking at rehiring the 1,600 nurses that have been fired during the Del Duca's government. We are also looking at compensating the PSWs and the nurses in terms of wages that are that they deserve based on the work that they've been doing, especially during the pandemic. That's just nothing short of heroic.
Thank you. And to our Ontario PC, Peter.
We inherited a broken healthcare system. For 15 years, the Liberal government, supported by the NDP, built no beds in Pickering from 2011 to 2018. Zero long-term care beds. In Ajax, zero, with a 38,000 person waiting list. So when you had the opportunity to get things done, you didn't do it. Now, under Doug Ford, we built the Ajax Pickering long-term care facility, now named Lake Ridge Gardens, in 13 months, 320. We did more in 13 months. We're also hiring nurses and PSWs, 27,000, and we're already starting because they're already there in Lake Ridge Gardens.
Thank you. Moving on to question number 2, a very high priority for business and for our employees, economic recovery from the adverse effects of COVID-19. What is your party's plan to assist businesses that are in the hardest hit sectors, including tourism, travel, hospitality, personal care, and retail, to name a few of the sectors? What programs and measures will you take to encourage recovery? And we'll start on my right hand with Peter.
Well, thank you for the question. Well, there's no question that the tourism sector got hit hard, and that's why we provided tourism sector with grants and recovery programs. In fact, close to $9 billion of supports throughout the pandemic. But clearly, economic recovery in Ontario after 2 years of the pandemic, and I mentioned it in my opening remarks, is our top priority. We are lowering the gas prices on July 1st by 5.7 cents a litre for 6 months, the gas tax. Number 2, we have the staycation tax credit to encourage people to visit and holiday here in Ontario, and that's more money back in people's pockets, plus it will help the tourism industry.
Thank you. We'll move to the NDP platform. Christine.
Yes, one of the things that we're doing is increasing the grants for the Ontario Arts Council. And the film industry has been one of the major contributors even during the pandemic and providing support for artists and the film industry. The other thing is for a lot of small businesses, definitely the reducing the electricity costs. And through our retrofit program, our energy efficient building retrofit program will help reduce the costs for businesses, and that will really help with managing and recovery during the pandemic.
Thank you. And Khalid?
Thank you for the question. So yes, I mean, good points by Christine. Our platform will be also giving $1,000 to the tourist industry. That was the hardest hit during this pandemic. We're going to make sure that the businesses are going to get grants with an easy process. Currently, the grant system that was done by the current government was really complicated. We've seen people out of province get these grants. We're going to make sure there's a smooth transition or a smooth process for businesses to get these grants. In 2022 and 2023, we'll be giving $1,000 to the tourist industry and saving money for taxpayers when they visit local, they shop local, and they stay locally. Thank you.
Thank you. And to the Liberal parties, now we'll go to Amber first.
Thank you. We are going to continue to invest in the hardest hit industries, music, tourism, sports, and culture. And we're also going to be creating a carbon offset system to improve carbon pricing for businesses. We will also make sure that we are going to help businesses fund digital work, which means cybersecurity, stop data breaches, that kind of thing, to make sure that we're helping businesses be protected in this new world.
Thank you. And Ibrahim.
Yes, we will eliminate HST on more meals funded by fair taxes, and we will replace the minimum wage with a regional living wage starting at $16. We will support some small businesses, especially in Ajax and Pickering, because we believe that if we are supporting the businesses, it's create more jobs and bring more employment and prosperity in the region.
Thank you for your answers. I'm going to focus on a fundamental, and this is something that we've spoken of many, many years, broadband. The COVID spotlight revealed a huge gap in the build-out of high-speed broadband infrastructure here in Durham and many places throughout Ontario. This is a fundamental utility, with our employees continuing to work in hybrid models from home and business locations, and for our businesses of every size to manage their supply chains and to compete within e-commerce trade. It is quite obvious that this must be a major priority for the provincial government. So what is your party's financial and immediate strategic plan to support this critical infrastructure build-out of stable, high-speed broadband throughout our Ontario? We're going to start with Ibrahim.
We'll be investing, we are bringing 30,000 jobs and investing in digital business. And we are promoting digital business because COVID-19 has proved that digital business is another alternative to us. And improving digital business is very important because it brings jobs at home.
Thank you. And Amber.
Thank you. We're going to continue to fund programs to help businesses increase their data management and increase their digital footprint, which means also creating those jobs that help our corporations here to produce broadband. Especially as a mother and educator, I saw the differences between how education was delivered to our students across Ontario when they couldn't get internet access. My own family in Ajax, when 4 people were looking at it. So we are not only going to help with data and tech services here, we're going to bring the jobs that help that infrastructure be recreated in Durham Region.
Thank you. And moving to the NDP candidates, starting with Khalid.
I mean, Ontario being such a great province and having such a great population, there are communities in Ontario that do not have internet. I was actually talking to one of our candidates from Northern Ontario, and they were mentioning that he has to go to the library to download his emails for the week. We need to make sure that these big businesses are not gouging customers and clients, and we could have affordable internet and services, especially in the northern side of this province.
Thank you. And NDP candidate Christine Santos.
Aside from what my colleague had mentioned, we have the Innovation Hub plan that will work with companies, universities, and field experts in terms of how we can better support in expanding the services and accommodate the needs of the different businesses here and meet the demands of our digital economy.
Thank you. And Ontario PC candidate Peter.
Look, I'm going to keep coming back to 15 years to build broadband, and what we inherited were 700,000 homes and businesses in Ontario that we were either underserved or not served at all. And that's why over a year ago I put $4 billion in the Ontario budget, which is more than any province combined, plus the federal government, to wire all of Ontario, the far north, all parts, all 15 million people in this province. And it's just about connecting people, healthcare, education, the justice system, businesses. It's a range of things that we need to move fast, and we're getting it done right across the province. You'll notice that in Durham, we've announced significant amounts of broadband infrastructure investment, along with the federal government. We've worked very closely with the federal government, who followed our lead and put more money into broadband. It's not just about talking about it, it's about getting it done.
Thank you. So question number 4 is a 2-part question, and we received this information from our Durham Region Association of Realtors. Thank you very much. There will be 2 minutes for this response. An entire generation is being priced out of the real estate market. So number 1, this directly impacts our business community as hardworking people look elsewhere in search of affordable housing. And number 2, there's a serious lack of supply, especially in the GTA. So what is your party's plan to respond to these housing crisis issues? Starting with Peter.
Thank you. Look, we first have to acknowledge, we had 15 years previously with the NDP supporting the Liberals at times. This didn't happen overnight. We made a commitment in the budget that I tabled a few weeks ago to build 1.5 million new homes. We are done 2 pieces of legislation to work with municipalities to cut red tape, to fast-track permitting in conjunction with the municipalities. On the other side, the non-resident speculation tax, I increased to 20% and made it all throughout Ontario so that foreign speculators aren't taking up the supply of housing. I've also introduced we had the vacancy tax, which is in place in Toronto. Also, Ottawa and Hamilton have requested it, and I've granted a vacancy tax opportunity for them. And I'll tell you this, we can't just fix this overnight. This will take time. But last year, over 100,000 new homes were built in Ontario. That was the highest level in 35 years. More rental properties were built last year than in 30 years as well. So it is a supply issue. We're going to get things done. We are moving forward. It's a long-term plan. And the dream of home ownership should not be out of reach for all Ontarians.
Thank you for your response. And Ajax NDP candidate Christine Santos.
One of the things that we're looking at is the middle housing, like duplexes, townhouses that are not being harnessed, and that can be done within the existing boundaries that are available instead of sprawling. And speculation tax in terms of making sure that the houses that are available are actually being lived in by people that need housing and affordable. Thank you.
Thank you. And Pickering Uxbridge NDP candidate Khalid.
Thank you. The NDP government will enable construction of 1.5 million new homes over the next decade. We're also going to update or repair the 260,000 social housing unit and provide first-time home buyers with to help them with the down payment. Currently, young people are graduating with a massive amount of debt. We see the current government just making it difficult for the first-time home buyers, including myself. I cannot afford a home. My wife and I both work, and still buying an affordable home is out of reach. We need to not just make homes, we need to build communities. We need to also ensure that we're making schools, we're investing in schools and hospitals in neighborhoods. Just blanketing with houses and highways is not going to cut it. Ontarians deserve better, and that's what the NDP plan offers.
Thank you very much. And moving to the Liberal Party, Ajax candidate Amber.
Thank you. Not only will the Ontario Liberal Party build 1.5 million homes, but we'll stop speculators and we'll be allowing homes up to 3 units on 2-story properties, working with our municipal partners to make this happen. Plans to get families into homes will only bring more prosperity and movement through our real estate market in Ajax. As families come into new homes and grow out into larger homes, we will boost back the real estate economy here while allowing families a place to grow in Ontario.
Thank you. And Pickering Uxbridge Liberal candidate Ibrahim.
While we were struggling under pandemic, PC and Doug Ford government failed to control the prices of houses, and especially rent control. Now, Ontario Liberal has a plan that we will build 130,000 new public housing units. And we will build 1.5 million homes in next 10 years. Our plan is to build 1.5 million that will create 150,000 jobs annually in construction and related industries. We will build 200 new schools and retrofit 4,500 existing ones and add this is also a housing plan, that's 3,000 new medical beds. And ladies and gentlemen, do you think the government should not pitch in when prices were skyrocketing? How my son, my families, my children can afford a small condo in anywhere in Ontario while they are making $100,000? This is a failure of Doug Ford government.
Thank you for your responses. So we're going to move on to question number 5. Again, something that's very fundamental from our perspective as a Board of Trade and our government relations, and we actually have a task force that is chaired by Chris Vail on transportation because it's so critical to us. Fundamentals of strategy for transportation. The movement of goods and services and our people is a critical aspect of running a competitive business. We hear about it frequently. Highway infrastructure needs, the need for more local 400 series interchanges, the highway congestion in urban centers, intermodal transportation issues, limited commercial air flights, congestion at border crossings, and other serious supply chain challenges. What is your party's strategy to improve transportation both within Ontario as well as cross-border to our neighboring provinces and into the U.S., including our rail, airport, and highways? And this is a 2-minute response. So we're going to start with you, Ibrahim.
The important thing is, especially when it comes to Ontario, that we keep our extra vehicles off the road. If you go in Pickering, especially when I go to my neighborhood and go to the other neighborhoods, I see 4, 5 cars standing on the parked on the driveways. And I just think that what kind of services this government has provided to the Ontarians to create a healthy environment. That's why Ontario Liberals they come a great idea of bucket ride province-wise. We want to keep maximum cars off the road so that we can give a cheaper transit to the people of Ontario. That cheaper transit will bring more jobs and employment opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Amber?
Thank you. Transit is important, and the Ontario Liberal Party is making it more affordable for Ontario. Our Bucket Ride program will provide families a break on gas prices by making transit an option. We know coming from Ajax into the city, it's $18 a day alone. Also, we want to eliminate the traffic and pollution on our roadways by making that transit more accessible, easier to take, and more attractive. We also are going to be bringing back rail systems back into our north because we know that those trips are critical for movement across Ontario and across borders. So making sure that we have rail transit that works for Ontario.
Thank you. And moving across to the NDP candidates, starting with Khalid.
Yeah, so thank you for the question. I mean, there are a few points that make it so costly. So I'll start off with the gas prices right now. That is increasing the cost of transportation. I think we need to look at that issue. The government, well, the Ford government they promised last election that they'll reduce the prices. They took the federal government to court and spent millions of our tax dollars and didn't achieve anything. We see Shell has tripled their profit. We see Imperial Oils tripled their profit. The Ontario NDP government will make sure that we talk with the Ontario Energy Board to reduce those prices and put a cap so we have affordable gassing. Second thing is to get the gridlock off the highways. And that doesn't just mean making another highway and maybe sell it off like 407 and have tolls on it. We should be investing in our transit. We'll restore the province's traditional 50% funding for city transit and partner transit net operational cost and ensure immediate improvement to transit and higher ridership. Just having a bucket ride, Mr. Del Duca was the Minister of Transportation. He should have done it when he had that 15 years. And that is a temporary plan. We need to make sure that there is a permanent plan. We do not need a bandit approach. We need to ensure that there are fair fares for people that are traveling with multiple transit, with GO Transit and TTC and Durham region. So making sure that the transition between those transit are affordable and consumers are not paying a higher price. Thank you.
Thank you. And Christine.
Yeah, we will restore the funding to public transit, the public transit cut that has been done by the Conservatives and Liberals by providing 50% of transit operating costs for municipalities. We'll also stop using P3s, which cause delays, cost more, and privatizes our public transit. And we'll also invest in two-way, all-day GO Rail service between Kitchener-Waterloo and Toronto, as well as year-round GO Rail service between Niagara and Toronto.
Thank you. And PC candidate Peter Bethlin-Falvey.
Well, thank you. And what we have is a rare moment where we all agree. Ibrahim had talked about building more transit, and Khalid just talked about building more highways because we have gridlock. On transit, we're a record investment of $62 billion in transit. On highways, $25 billion, because not everyone can take a subway. But it's more than that. It's actually getting things done. They talked about a subway in Scarborough for 35 years. It started in the 80s. We've actually got the shovels in the ground, and the boring has already started. Scarborough, 700,000 people have been without a subway for all that time. We're getting it done. The Bowmanville extension, 4 new stops, building more transit here in Durham. Widening the 401. I announced in the budget that we've started the process to widen the 401 going east to get out of gridlock so people can spend more time with their families. We are going to continue to build and get it done because people don't want to spend time in gridlock. As Khalid mentioned, they had 15 years to build transit. You can't do this overnight. You have to have a vision, you have to have a plan, and you have to get it done. That's what a Doug Ford government is doing. Stephen Del Duca had the opportunity to build transit, more public infrastructure, did not do it. He's the one that increased the license plate stickers up to $120. We've taken them off. He's the one, and the party put the tolls on the 412, 418. The only place in Ontario that the Liberals put tolls on highways was here in Durham, penalizing people in Durham. We're taking action. We're not talking about it. 15 years of committees and debate, actual shovels in the ground, actual work because people want us to act. They want to get out of gridlock and spend more time with their families.
Thank you for your answers on that. Question number 6. There's a significant skilled labor shortage, specifically in the GTA and in Durham. This includes difficulty in filling open positions of every kind, from office positions, management positions, as well as our trades, manufacturing, and distribution centers. What is your party's plan to develop sector-specific workforce strategies to address these existing and forecasted labor shortages? And we'll start with Peter.
This is a 1 minute or 2 minute?
1 minute.
This is a 1 minute. I better get going. The Ontario Chamber of Commerce, I'm just reading here, they asked for measures to address Ontario's current labor shortage and future work needs. We welcome commitments to reduce barriers to foreign credentials and new investments in the skilled trade strategy. We have a plan to build 400,000 electric vehicles right here in Ontario by 2030. We've got the critical minerals in the north. We're opening up the Ring of Fire, putting infrastructure there, which will then go into the batteries. Windsor has a $5 billion investment, and then plants like in Oshawa and other places. But the workers have to have the skills. That's why we put in over $1 billion in worker development, skills training, retraining, reskilling, and Ontario is going to be a renaissance again for good paying manufacturing jobs. And they were lost, Christine, actually under the Liberals supported by the NDP, those 300,000 jobs. It wasn't the Conservatives.
Thank you. And Ajax NDP candidate Christine Santos.
With our energy-efficient retrofitting program, we're creating 100,000 green jobs. And we're also working with youths in retraining, especially in the skills trade, and also uplifting the disadvantaged communities, such as the racialized community and women, in order to be able to supply the demand that we have in terms of the expansion that we're doing.
Thank you. And Khalid?
Yes, and just to build on Christine's points, we need to have more trainings and for people that are graduating. So we need a plan to do the short term, fill the gaps right now. We need something midterm and long term. So we'll be having a retrofit plan which will create 100,000 good jobs, and just not jobs, and ensuring that workers have paid sick days, which we have been calling for. The current government failed. We are going to make sure that there's dental care and vision care for workers, so they're happy when they're going to work and they're taken care of. I don't understand why vision care and dental care is still not covered in our OHIP. It's possible, and the Ontario NDP government is going to make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you. And moving on to the Liberal candidates, starting with Amber.
Thank you. We're going to make sure that we are investing in domestic training and apprenticeships, and especially funding the education system to support bringing trades back into our high schools here in Ontario. We're going to also fast-track internationally accredited workers to the province and provide 10 paid sick days to workers in Ontario, compensating small and medium businesses up to $200 a day so they can make that happen. Buck a Ride alone will help workers get to work, which is one of the greatest obstacles, especially for mothers getting to their jobs and also providing childcare.
Thank you. And Ibrahim?
Yeah. Regarding the electric vehicles, this plan was in fact 2018. That plan was cancelled by the Duckford, and now it's in the election budget. A lot of things are coming, but we will create 150,000 jobs through our construction workers. We will create 10,000 teachers in the province. We will create 5,000 special workers in Ontario, and we will create 1,000 mental health workers positions in Ontario, and 25,000 high wage workers position in Ontario.
Okay, thank you. So I think we have time for a couple more questions. We're doing pretty well, so thank you. What is your party's plan to fight the rising inflation that we are experiencing, including the cost of fuel and the cost of food? We'll start with you, Ibrahim.
Yeah. Especially for food, PST, the PST is, we are going to give PST rebate on pre-cooked food that is for $20. Up to $20, and that will definitely help our workers and for daily usage of food. Second thing is, this is very important that we create jobs, we invest in infrastructure, we invest in businesses, so that our economy can grow and we can curb and we can eliminate, or we can minimize and mitigate inflation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Amber?
The truth is, with the current state of gas in the airline industry, we do have to focus on how we're supporting businesses. The HST rebate alone on prepared food under $20 helps families feed their children, making sure that we have those comprehensive pieces by using things like e-vehicles to help eliminate the cost of gas for transport across this province. E-buses, e-trucks are all possible. We just have to imagine them and build the infrastructure in order to create them, and that's what we'll do right here in Durham.
Thank you. And moving on to Khalid.
The cost of living keeps on going up, and Ontario NDP has a plan that will that will address these issues. We'll ensure that we do not increase taxes for anyone that's earning $200,000 and below. We'll ensure that people are saving money by having a dental plan and a vision care plan. We'll ensure that people can access to mental health services, and they could actually use their OHIP card instead of their credit cards. These are just a few ways of making life more affordable. We'll ensure, as I mentioned earlier, with the gas prices, we'll work with the Ontario Energy Board to ensure that the prices are lower so the cost of living doesn't go up. Thank you.
And Christine.
We'll work in locally sourced food, and that's providing loans to new farmers, young farmers, and also by Ontario for Ontario. So helping local businesses and socially diverse business owners to be able to provide the services for the Ontarians.
Thank you. And Peter.
The cost of everything is going up, and we want to keep costs down. That's why we took the tolls off the 412, 418. That's why we rebated the license plate stickers. That's over $400 per family. That's why we're reducing the gas price by 5.7 cents a liter on July 1st for 6 months, and 5.3 cents a liter for diesel. We increased the minimum wage, and we put in a tax rebate for anyone making up to $50,000. So that'll improve money back in people's pockets, 1.1 million people. And let me say this, getting a good job is also a way to deal with affordability, and bringing back 2,600 jobs at the Oshawa GM plant to make electric vehicles. That's part of the vision. We've had over $15 billion of investment in the last 18 months. Auto manufacturing jobs vacated over 15 years. We're bringing them back. These are good paying jobs. These are bigger paychecks.
Thank you. And our final question. 65% of our membership is small business, really important to us as an association. So if elected, what will your party do to reduce red tape administration burden for our small businesses and large? Peter, starting with you.
Well, thank you, and thank you for the work that the Ajax Pickering Board of Trade does on behalf of small businesses. You know, we gave supports to businesses of almost $9 billion through the pandemic. We continue through property tax relief, electricity relief, small business grants, deferral of taxes, almost $7 billion, opportunity to defer taxes for 6 months on provincially administered taxes. But we have a lot more to do. And as I mentioned before, the Ontario Chamber of Commerce and the CFIB, the Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses, said if you do have a plan to stay open, you know, that's the hardest thing to do. So that's why we're investing in more hospitals, more nurses, more PSWs, more beds, more home care. And we're delivering that, not talking about it, so that we can have the best economy and let them thrive going forward.
Thank you. And Christine.
We will talk with business owners, small business owners, in understanding what their pain points are. And with our small business recovery grant, we will ensure that it's a timely disbursement of funds, and they get the help that they really need in order to thrive in our recovering from pandemic.
Thank you. And Khalid.
Thank you. Yeah, during this pandemic, we've seen record profits for big box stores while small businesses were suffering. We've seen the grant program that the current government has. It was so complicated, a lot of people didn't get it. We want to ensure that businesses are getting money in their pocket. We have an amazing retrofitting program. We'll make sure that we reduce the hydro bills for businesses and families. And one of the big things is we have to ensure that we do not go on another lockdown. Sixth wave of COVID, and we're still scared that the COVID cases will rise. So we need to invest in our healthcare system to ensure that we have enough nurses and doctors to address these issues, and to make sure that small businesses do not close again and they're open.
Thank you. And moving to our Liberal candidates, starting with Christine. I'm sorry, starting with Amber.
No problem. No worries. Eliminating the corporate tax is a huge break for small and medium businesses for 2 years to help everyone recover, especially that we know that during the COVID pandemic, small and medium-sized businesses were closed, shuttered, while the big box stores remained open. And making sure that we help eliminate incorporation fees so that we entice new business and encourage and support new business growth here in the province, as well as funding programs to make sure that we have safe and reliable digital and secure business opportunities for members in this province.
Good, thank you. And now Ibrahim.
So Ontario Liberal plan is to build a four-day work week, eliminate corporate taxes, 2 years for small businesses hit hard by the pandemic, and remove the incorporation fees for startups. And we will create a 311 type hotline with self-help tools and live agent support. The only thing here, Doug Ford and the government failed to provide any support to the businesses. More than 80% support came from the federal government, and less than 20% support came from the Doug Ford and his finance minister.
Okay, thank you. So that's the end of our questions. Now we move to our closing remarks, and you have 3 minutes for these. This is where you tell us why we should vote for you and your party, and it's really important statements. So we're going to start with you, Ibrahim, and if you can make your closing comments, and then we'll move down the table from there.
Thank you very much for providing me the opportunity to share Stephen Del Duca and the Ontario Liberal plan. It's clear that our vision is very different from that of the Ford government. While the Conservatives have failed to present a plan that would put Ontario back on track, we have shared a well-thought-out and concrete plan that helps businesses, families, and people who need support. Friends, fellow Ontarians, the time is now to think about our future, and you need to be taken seriously. Too often, Doug Ford launched unnecessary and costly projects that were derailed due to poor planning, lack of research, and controversy. Auditor General has showed her no confidence on Doug Ford government by saying Small businesses in Ontario faced their most difficult years ever and needed Doug Ford's support and help. But Doug Ford and his now and former finance minister were missing in action while the business support program was being designed. This is a report from Auditor General. Where were these? My friend has talked about Highway 412, Highway 418, widening 401 East, and increasing the minimum wage, which was reduced before in 2018. Now, because of its election budget, in election budget, everything is coming again. Doug Ford is a man known for broken promises. And this election, we are not going to be deceived once again from these promises. Where were these plans and ideas when Ontarians need help? Why not, but now, but why not before? Why now? How seriously can we take them? In this election, Doug Ford and the Conservative plans are as solid as gas stickers on the pump, as clear as the blue license plates, and as ineffective as bucket beer. Our tomorrow begins right now. Please join Stephen Del Duca and the Liberals and bring back Ontario as a place to grow. The choice is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibrahim. And Ajax Liberal candidate Amber.
My name is Amber Bowen, and I'm here to bring hope, growth, and care back into Ontario for our community, for our local businesses, and for our families. This is a new Ontario Liberal Party made up of workers, healthcare, education, environmental, and small businesses coming together to do better for Ontario. You have a fundamental choice on June 2nd. It's a choice between the Ford government's cuts, chaos, and confusion, or a new Ontario Liberal team that will make Ontario a place to grow for everyone, not just a privileged few. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Amber. And moving to the Uxbridge Pickering Ndp candidate, Khalid Ahmed.
Thank you all for attending this morning today. I want to thank my fellow candidates for coming today and have a good discussion on the future of Pickering, Uxbridge, and Ajax. We covered many topics today, and what I'm hearing at doors is life is getting harder for people, for small businesses. Bandit approach is not going to work. Reducing gas prices for 6 months is not going to work. Having buck a ride for a short period of time is not going to work. We need a concrete plan to help Ontarians. We need a concrete plan to help businesses. And the delayed response for taking away tolls of 412 could have saved people in the Durham region a lot of money. I don't know, they had waited 3 years to take up the tolls. They waited 3 years to help families right before the election. And you know what? With the budget that's presented, we're not even sure if it's going to be passed. Is there a commitment of the budget being passed that was presented in Queen's Park? It's time that we elect an Ontario NDP government. I truly believe we have been struggling, and we are the only party that will help make life affordable. What I understand is, given my diverse career and life experience, is that to support a thriving business community takes more than tax breaks for wealthy developers. What is needed are community and social programs, world-class healthcare and education, and recreation and arts and culture programs that will help attract and retain work so businesses can thrive longer. The Liberal had the chance to do it. They didn't. They broke it. The Conservative had the chance to do it. They didn't. They broke it. Pickering deserves a candidate that will fix what's broken. June 2nd, you have a chance of electing Andrew Harwat and the Ontario NDP to fix what's broken. And I ask you for your support. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And moving on to Ajax Liberal candidate Christine Santos.
Again, I would like to thank the Board of Trade for this morning's forum. We've talked a lot this morning about what people up here on stage have done and willing to do in order to make our community better for all of us. I think everyone on this stage loves Ajax and Pickering, Uxbridge, and truly wants the best for all of us. Our province is at a crossroad. In Ajax and Pickering and across Ontario, everyday life, from filling up your gas, buying groceries, getting a home, and raising a family has become harder and more expensive. Day-to-day costs that students, seniors, families, and small businesses face are out of control. Hydro, childcare, and grocery bills are through the roof. While the cost of living is skyrocketing, the Conservatives have made cuts to services that we all use and count on. Billions from healthcare and long-term care, home care, and education and the environment. The Liberals, they cut too. It's how we ended up with hallway medicine. I'm running to be your MPP because I know we deserve better. And I know that if we come together, we can fix what's broken. We can have a healthcare system with more nurses, PSWs, and healthcare staff, with smaller or shorter wait times and without hallway medicine. We can have a dental and mental care for all. We can have a home care system that is fully funded and staffed so our parents and grandparents can stay longer at home, cared for by their loved ones. Families can have affordable childcare. People can afford homes. Kids can go to school with smaller classes and better ventilation. We can help local businesses with continued pandemic supports, give startups a head start through our innovation fund, and create good-paying, sustainable jobs. We can have an Ontario that works for every single Ontarian. This hope starts with electing Andrea Horwath and the Ontario NDP, and with your vote on June 2nd, we can elect a government that puts people first and at the heart of every decision it makes. An NDP government that is strong, ready, and working for you.
Thank you very much, Christine. And now moving on to Pickering Uxbridge, Ontario PC candidate Peter Bethlin-Falvey.
Well, thanks again to the Board of Trade for hosting us and Joan Weidman for moderating, and my fellow candidates. To all of Durham and all of Ontario, it's been an honor being your MPP for 4 years, 110,000 constituents. I've worked hard every day, and I'm looking for your support to continue doing the job over the next 4 years. You know, we've talked about the Liberals who went backwards, talked about things, didn't do things. Doug Ford and our government are getting things done, and that's what I pledge to do going forward. To the point of the budget, as I said on budget day, that is the budget that we will table if re-elected in the legislature. And you know, we have a fully costed budget as signed off by the Auditor General, something the previous Liberals didn't get in 2018. In terms of our plan is to rebuild Ontario's economy, get those manufacturing jobs, those good auto manufacturing jobs right across the province, including the Ring of Fire and the corridor to prosperity in the north, where we'll get critical minerals that will go into the batteries, getting the critical minerals in northern Ontario, not China or Russia, getting them here in Ontario. They're good jobs, bigger paychecks, along with our First Nations as part of our effort to bring prosperity to the north, which will go into the batteries and the jobs of tomorrow. 2,600 jobs in Oshawa, 2,500 new jobs in Windsor to produce electric vehicles. We will be the electric vehicle capital of North America. We're also working for workers to bring back really good labor and skilled trades and jobs with the tools that they need. I mentioned worker development. We're going to make sure that we have the best talent in all of Ontario. We're going to make sure that we continue to invest in all workers, because this government, our party, is working for workers. Finally, next we're going to build highways. We're going to build infrastructure. The hospitals, we're going to build hospitals right across Ontario. A new hospital in Durham. We need one in Pickering. The population growth in Durham is exploding. We need to provide the infrastructure, the highways, the public transit, the hospitals, the long-term care, the housing, the broadband. All this important. We've been doing it for 4 years. I'd like your support to do it for another 4 years. We're bringing costs down right across the spectrum. I mentioned gas prices coming down 5 cents a liter. The stickers coming off the license plates. That's immediate cash in your pocket. We have a plan to stay open, a plan for more nurses, more PSWs. We're building hospitals in Windsor and right across Ontario and Etobicoke, here in Durham, in Mississauga, up in the north. We're going to continue to invest in healthcare. And on June 2nd, I ask again for your support and your vote. I'm Peter Bethlin-Falvey, the MPP for Pickering Uxbridge. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Let's say thanks to all of the candidates for their participation. Well, thank you once again to each of you as candidates for your willingness to come this morning and also for your willingness and your family support to stand for an elected position. So we really appreciate that. As we look at the international and domestic challenges that we face as a country, we need strong leadership in our provincial government. So to the successful party, you have our commitment that the Ajax Pickering Board of Trade will work very closely with the provincial party that is elected, both to advocate on important issues and to promote our strong local communities. To our attendees, we hope that you found this event very informative. We would encourage you to pursue any follow-up questions with the candidates afterwards. Please encourage your employees, your family, and your friend to vote. Reminder that the election day is Thursday, June the 2nd. Thank you, and I'd like to turn the meeting over to our Ajax Pickering Board of Trade 2022 President Talia Lane.
Thanks, Joan. Excellent job moderating as always. And I just want to echo Joan's remarks. Please get out there and vote. Encourage your colleagues to vote. Encourage your employees to vote, your friends and your family. We all have a choice to vote. It is our civic duty, and it's important that we do this. So just to wrap things up, as many of you know, the new long-term care home, Lakeridge Gardens, recently opened, so it's with great pleasure that today we're going to donate all of the centerpieces to Lakeridge Gardens. It's kind of nice. It'll brighten up their space. Just a few housekeeping items. We have a couple of events on our radar. The golf tournament is next week, Thursday, May 19th. We still have some foursomes open. It's going to be a great day. Long range forecast says weather is perfect, so come and join us if you're thinking about it. It's at Deer Creek Golf and Country Club. June 8th is the return of our mental health forum at the Lake House in Pickering with keynote speaker Onika Dainty and presentations from Lakeridge Health Pinewood Addiction Center, Ontario Shores. We have CMHA Durham and Christine Ashton from Wilson Vukovic. It's going to be a fabulous half-day workshop, and you won't want to miss it. And thank you to our event sponsors for that day, Bell Canada and OPG. Without their support, we can't make it an exciting day. June 23rd, we have a really cool event coming. It is our first in-person sustainability event for 2022. It is electric vehicles, time now to go electric. Have you ever wanted to test drive an e-vehicle? I think now is the time, considering gas prices. This opportunity is open only to Ajax Pickering Board of Trade members. So if you're here today and you're not a member, you should sign up. A special luncheon will feature experts on moving to e-vehicles as well as building a sustainable network in Durham region. Registration for all the activities of the day opens soon, so keep an eye on your e-bulletins. And thank you to Lexicon Energy Inc. and OPG for sponsoring what will be an energizing event. Like that, eh? At least you're all awake. Thank you to the candidates, all the sponsors, the attendees, Government Relations Committee, and our council for an engaging start of the day. Again, get out and vote. Safe travels, everyone, and I wish you a successful day of business.
My name is Patrice Barnes, and I'm your Ontario Progressive candidate running to be the next MPP for Ajax. As a proud mother and wife who have raised their children in Ajax, I want this community to be a place where people have good jobs and can afford to buy a home and have services they need to thrive. Doug Ford and the Ontario PCs are the only party with a plan to get it done for the people of Ajax and Ontario. We're rebuilding Ontario's economy, investing in the Durham GM plant, and investing in small businesses throughout the pandemic. We're bringing new employers to Ajax, such as the Amazon facility, which is employing over 1,500 well-paying jobs with benefits. We're investing in the skilled trades, apprenticeships, and creating manufacturing jobs right here in Ontario. We're the only party building the critical infrastructure that is needed for Ontario to grow. When the previous government said no to building hospitals, long-term care, and creating 0 beds in Ajax, Doug Ford's party got shovels in the ground. As an elected school board trustee for Ajax, I speak to parents and students all the time. They want a government that has a plan to stay open safely, a government that will keep money in their pockets and make life affordable. The Ontario PCs have scrapped the license plate stickers, the tolls on the 412 and the 418, and are lowering gas taxes, increasing the minimum wage and ODSP payments. We're investing over $2.4 million in Ajax recreational facilities and upgrading our basketball courts, ice pads, and cricket fields. It is my privilege to represent Ajax at Queen's Park. On June 2nd, vote Patrice Barnes for the Ontario PC Party.
Hello, my name is Gary Reeder, and I am the new blue candidate for the riding of Ajax. I am very excited to be able to offer the voters of Ajax a new alternative for traditional conservative values in Ontario. The New Blue Party is a new party. We were founded in 2020. We were founded in response to what we saw as an overreach of the government in terms of COVID responses. One of our founders, Belinda Carhalios, is the only PC to vote against the lockdowns Bill 195. The New Blue Party wants to put power back to the people. We want to restrict the government overreach. We want to end all the mandates. We want to support families and traditional values. We want people to keep more of what they earn. We want to grow the economy by lowering electricity rates. We want to end the windmills and the excess of cost that they generate that gets passed on to taxpayers. We want to lower the HST. We want HST to be reduced from current 13% to 10%. We believe that people have their own best interests at heart, and they need to have the freedom to pursue their own interest. I look forward to talking with all of you. If you have any interest, any questions, you can reach us at ajax/newblueontario.com, and I look forward to meeting you all at your doors as we come in and talk directly. Thank you very much.
Also running in the riding of Ajax, Intab Ali, Independent. Alan Hadley, Independent. Aaron Hopkins, Ontario Party. And Neil Runnels, Green Party of Ontario.
Hi, good morning. My name is Abir Dafour, and having lived in Pickering nearly my entire life, I've watched the landscape rapidly change here. I watched as local favorites abruptly close down and get replaced with new developments. I watched the traffic get worse and the infrastructure start to buckle under a volume of residents that wasn't built for. But at the end, the moment that made me decide to run was when the neighbors I knew began considering leaving the city, and one actually did. She said she couldn't stay in the city anymore because living here had become unbearable. And that was the moment I made the mental decision to run and make the right change. Every single day, I'm saddened to see more and more of my neighbors leave, but every single time they enforce this decision to run. My goal was not to halt change in Pickering, but to create the right kind of change, the kind that is for residents like me and you, for small and local businesses, and not purely for big developers. I'm running in the provincial election, however, my focus is on municipal issues. I'm committed to the preservation of Pickering's waterfront and its green spaces by halting its development and promoting greater transparency, accountability, and public consultation in these matters. I'm aiming for much greater cohesion between municipal actors and their provincial counterparts, listening to our provincial politicians and working with them. I want to make Pickering a comfortable city for all to live in, and that will require much more careful structural planning. I'm running because this is the moment that decides Pickering's future. Any more green and natural spaces lost to overdevelopment will take years to recover, and we need to start acting now. We need to ensure that Pickering can remain a place where people want to live, and we can do that by seeing that the right change is needed.
I have the honor of representing the Ontario Moderate Party. Being the supporter and candidate, I want to briefly outline our party's program in the time allocated to me. We live in one of the most remarkable countries in the world. Alongside the wealth of the nation can allow to all citizens of the country to live in tranquility and prosperity, the icon of heightened standards of the living among the people. We must all unite and stand for our rights and welfare. Most Canadian citizens disagree with the policy of the reigning party. So why does this still remain in governments? You and I must decide our fate and the future of our children. What we will leave them as a legacy. Consider this. What has been happening in the recent years is insufficient for the country. Grant our party a chance to lead the province of Ontario. We will not let you down. I am not only promise you, but I will do my best to fulfill them. I am obligated to fulfill them so that in time I would not be ashamed to look all of you eye for the empty promises that our government has been providing to us for the past several years. All details information is available on Ontario Moderate Party website. You can read and make your right decision. Vote for us. Thank you for your consideration. I wish you all health, happiness, and success. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Lisa Robinson, your Ontario MPP candidate. The Ontario Party is a true Conservative party, and we are here to put a stop to the dishonest governing of Doug Ford and his political friends. For decades, you have been voting for the same political parties, voting for the lesser of the three evils, hoping for change, and yet it never happens. They dangle that carrot full of empty promises in front of you before every election to get your vote, and then we can't even hold them accountable. It doesn't have to be this way. Together, we can create a government that serves the public and starts putting the needs of its people above the needs of its party leader. There is something terribly wrong with a government who continuously perpetuates the division of people using fear and the media to segregate people into groups. An Ontario Party government will view each and every one of you as an Ontarian that deserves our support and deserves our respect. We know a house divided cannot stand, and we will build our house back brick by brick until we are all united once again. We will start with no more lockdowns, no mandates, and oppose the digital ID. We will uphold the Constitution and protect your rights. Have better health care, remove curricular not specifically tailored to core academic competencies, and uphold your parental rights and protect the family unit. Protect our farmlands and the environment, protect small businesses and help them thrive. Have support in place to deal with mental illness and make housing affordable. We believe everyone should have a place to lay their head. We want to help those who need our support and put systems in place so they can learn to stand on their own 2 feet and protect the vulnerable. Bring down the cost of living and end this epidemic of inflation. In closing, strategic voting has never worked in the past. It's time you vote to put you first and the needs of your family. It's what you deserve. I am Lisa Robinson, and I humbly ask for your support this June 2nd for the Ontario Party.
Hi, my name is Julia Rondinoni, and I'm the Ontario Greens candidate for Pickering Uxbridge. I want my constituents to know that I'm focused on representing their concerns and ideas when it comes to making Pickering Uxbridge a better place for everyone. The affordable housing crisis has hit our community hard, and ensuring that we create connected, sustainable, and affordable living spaces is a top priority for me. I also recognize that access to adequate mental health services should be a basic human right. We must increase Ontario's health budget for addiction and mental health care spending and expand access to these services under OHIP. I believe that ending urban sprawl is extremely important in order to help maintain critical watersheds that help mitigate dangerous climate change effects. The Green Party is the only party willing to implement immediate and long-term policies that will help prevent a climate catastrophe from occurring. I represent youth voices in my riding, and I want every young constituent to know that their voice is heard in politics. As young people, we know that the time to act on climate is now, and our futures in this world rely on the changes that must be brought into action during this election period. People coming from any age bracket, ethnicity, gender identity, or sexual orientation, as well as any religion, should know that their voices will be heard by me in this election. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to connecting with each and every one of you.
My name is Elizabeth Talas. I am a proud candidate for Pickering Uxbridge riding. I represent the New Blue Party of Ontario, a true blue conservative party led by the fantastic leader, Jim Carajalios, alongside with his wife, Belinda Carajalios. The New Blue Party is a true grassroots party, a party built on integrity and a strong foundation that Ontario truly needs at this moment in time. The party is comprised of 124 candidates who are everyday people. We are citizens who have stood up to the tyrannical measures that are taking place in Ontario, and we want to affect change. I did not decide to run as your candidate because I wanted to enter politics. I want to become an advocate for the people in the very same community I am raising my young daughter in. As your candidate, I do not promise anything except to hear each and every one of you. I promise to take your voices back to legislator and defend and fight for all of you. In Queen's Park as your MPP, I will fight to end all COVID-19 mandates, including passports and digital ID. We will restore dignity and transparency in the healthcare system. We will bring back our healthcare workers and reduce the backlog in the system. We will grow Ontario's economy. Under the Ford government, the economy maybe has grown 2%, if not less. The education system is in chaos. Our kids are the future of Ontario, and they are lost. We need to encourage the students to critically think, problem solve, and find solutions on their own. We will eliminate this carbon tax and reduce the HST from 13% to 10%. A little bit about me. I was born and raised in the beaches in Toronto until a young teenager when my parents decided to make a move outside of the city. We moved to Pickering. Liverpool Road was just a gravel road. I'm mentioning this as I cannot believe how Pickering's infrastructure has grown. The area has built up immensely. The population has tripled over time, and we have a beautiful city. I'm a sole parent of a little girl, as well as I take care of my mother from an early age who's had many medical challenges. I worked in the corporate sector for 27 years. I held leadership positions in all my careers, and after 27 years, I decided that I wanted to do something for myself, something new. Vote New Blue, and we will work for you.
Also running in the riding of Pickering Uxbridge is Hassan Syed of the Ontario Centrist Party.
This is Rogers TV.
Our ancestors came here from France to build a better life. We lived here happily for generations, until the British decided they wanted our land. The men were called to a meeting and then imprisoned. They demanded we swear an oath to their king and took everything, regardless. We were forced from Acadie, the only home we knew. Mon Acadie n'existera plus.
From 1755 to 1763, over 10,000 Acadians were ripped from their homeland. Despite this, Acadian culture endures in Atlantic Canada.
Leonard Thompson, 13 years old, diabetes mellitus, 65 pounds.
Starve the child to let them live? The treatment's as cruel as the disease. It's a death sentence.
Dr. Banting, this could be it. He's the first to receive this trial. But will it save him?
It's not pure enough. So we try again. And again. And again.
Before the discovery of insulin, diabetes was a death sentence. Banting, Best, Collop, and MacLeod's breakthrough has saved millions of lives. Leonard Thompson's was the first.
Smudging is a very important part in our life as we're all learning to walk the good way. When we smudge, we use the sacred medicine, the white sage, the sweetgrass, the tobacco, and the cedar. It cleanses negative energy and replaces it by a positive energy. When I smudge, I cleanse my end, and my eagle feather and start cleansing my breath to have better words. I will smudge my eyes so I could see the better